Hello everybody, I'm here with Jay Stieva. We're doing a spotlight video. I interviewed Jay in 2008, so that was like 17 years ago. And
didn't realize it was that long ago.
On the playback of listening to our interview, you were actually my first interview I did for this book project.
No way.
And I thought that's really fascinating.
That is. I remember that day. Yeah, that's when we had Sinful downtown Whitby there, Four Corners.
That's right.
I was impressed by the project that you're going to steamroll ahead with and what you were doing. And now finding out that it got sidelined for as many years as it did. And now you're back picking up where you left off. And making us old school tattooers a little more relevant. So it's amazing what you're doing here. So I've been following along on your journey here, and thanks for coming back up. I greatly appreciate having you back here at the grave. So
well, thanks for having me. Like, this is a fantastic location. When you said you're out in the country now, like you're a little more secluded.
Yeah.
I thought I can't wait to see what you've put together. And
it's a work in progress. It will be for quite some time, but this is what I kind of took a run at first, was just getting the space the way I wanted it, and and just provide, because a lot has changed since Sinful Inflictions. I had done everything I think I could do with Sinful. I needed something new, and as artists, we're always constantly reinventing ourselves, and taking it different runs and different avenues and putting ourselves in different environments, and and all that really plays a big role, I think, in the way the designs are come together. And if you got stress in your life, or and you're anxious, or you're down in the dumps, there's a lot of things that play a role in how that design's going to come out, I feel. And like we were talking about earlier, you got to put the time in for these custom designs. I keep leaving the plate of cookies out every night, and the cookies are gone, but the drawings aren't done when I wake up. So that's getting up early mornings, and it's been early mornings and late nights for almost 34 years that I've been into the industry. Mind you, now that I do a lot of larger scale stuff, and so that's where it's pretty time consuming. It is time consuming. It's the behind the scenes stuff that nobody ever really sees, So it's fortunate to be able to do what I've been doing for as long as I have, and still have a bundle of great clients, because it starts with those clients and there's no space with them. Then it goes to their kids, or their niece or nephew or cousins, and
that's right.
That's how it all kind of it spreads. And there's no better word of mouth than the tattoos themselves. You try all different kinds of avenues to promote yourself over the years, but from how far it's come, it's quite something.
It really is.
It's everything from making your own needles to now that's just a thing of the past, or mixing your own inks, or and coil machines seem to be, the next thing that wants to get shelved. But there's a lot of us that still like to work with those machines. And, I love the sound of them. And, the tattoo conventions sound a whole lot different than what they used to. That whole beehive thing is, you don't really hear the beehive, Sure, that's what I used to love about Sinful, is every time I come into work and you just hear the machines going on all the floors. And it was pretty cool. I miss that sound. But, so that's where we're at today, I guess. So,
and I've been following you over the years since we last got together. I've always kept my eye on you. When your posts come up and your stories come up, yours are one that I always watch. I'm like, I want to see what he's up to next.
Yeah, well, up here there's no shortage of things that are going on, and I've had a client in the chair there last fall, and we were sitting here, and the moose just walked right up to the window, and he had never seen a moose before, and he was beside himself and quite ecstatic. And it provides a whole different element up here, in the woods. And
where am I sitting right now?
We're up in the courses, just in Burnt River, Ontario.
Okay.
You're just outside of Fallon Falls and just outside of Kinmount, sort of thing. So it's the Kawarthas, which I'm familiar with, and had a cottage up here for a number of years, and then a trailer before that. And it's a nice drive from Durham region, which is the majority of my clients are all coming up from Durham and Toronto and Niagara and Hamilton and all that stuff. Provide a nice drive, and then we're going to take it to another level this fall, and hopefully I'll be able to have the Raven's Rest open, where the whole tattoo bed and breakfast thing will play a role, and clients will be able to come up the night before, get a good night's rest, go for a hike, and sit for a nice long sit. If they don't want to drive home, they'll have the option of going back there and having their significant other or no one waiting for them or what have you. And it'll also open up the door for like back-to-back sits. So where clients can come out for, do a good solid day and then get a good night's rest and then just walk over and, pick up where we left off. So that'll be another option as well. So yeah, just a full rounded, one of a kind, unique experience is kind of what I want to offer for the clients. So,
and I'm really curious to see how this evolves and plays out in the next 5-10 years.
Yeah, it should be pretty cool, man. I'm excited. I've been really excited about it for a number of years. I've had the idea for 25 years, I guess. So now to finally actually say, okay, you've been talking the game, so let's put it to use and see if we can make it happen. So that's where I've been going and just plugging away and then plugging away outside, getting the bunkie experience ready and all that stuff for the clients, and then working away in here. So yeah, it keeps me pretty busy, man.
Yeah. So that's where we're at today, and let's dial it back a little bit here. I want to share with people some of your beginnings, and so they have an understanding of where you come from and how did you get to this point in your career. So when I skim back through our old interview, you were first learned how to tattoo when you were very young. You were 17.
17 when I picked up my first machine. Yeah. Okay. I was fortunate. I was supposed to go after graduate high school, I was meant to go to college for graphic design. And that summer after graduation, I just happened to meet a tattooer. And his name was Gary Barber from the Barbershop Tattooing. He was out on Clooney Avenue out by Center Mall in Hamilton. So, and that was quite the house, that place. Okay. Him and his wife Sandy. But Gary he gave me the time. He taught me how to make needles. He made me my first tattoo machine. He just kind of, he let me get my foot in the door. It was a really good opportunity for him to take the time and just kind of give me the basics, the lowdown of, how we're going to do, how he did it anyways. And the rest, like I never really did any formal apprenticeships. Like I was kind of self-taught a lot other than what I've learned from him. And then obviously Mike Austin, I spent a lot of time with him. Yeah,
Mike tattooed your whole back.
He did everything. He did both sleeves. He did both full rib cages. He did my full back. He did my chest, stomach. He's done my whole upper torso. So there's a lot of time spent in that gentleman's chair. And, I go to visit him and I, come home with coffins and, human skulls, and they're all courtesy of Mr. Mike. And, and he was, wow, I owe tons to Mike. Like he took a lot of time to, while we were sitting there in those chairs, we discussed a lot of things from, you name it, what inspires him, what inspires me, and his collection of old war artifacts and stuff, where I collect a lot of antiques and stuff. So it was always a lot of fun going to see, other than the drive going there. But, we'd get in the hearse, me and someone else would usually pile in the hearse, and we'd drive up to London and get our tattoos done. Some would get done by John, and someone else would I'd be sitting in Mike's chair. But yeah, it's and then seeing him at the conventions and and
that was early on in your tattooing career. Like you were just 3-4 years in,
probably somewhere around there. Yeah, okay. I think I started getting tattooed by Mike around 90. Well, I opened Sinful Inflictions in 94. June 29th, 94 is when I opened up the doors. And then maybe I was getting tattooed by Mike, I think, at that point already.
Sure.
I started with the 2 half sleeves, and then we worked our way down. And so I'd say about 93, 94, I started getting work done by Mike. And it seemed like I was there almost every month for quite a number of years. And then, now I haven't seen Mike for quite some time, and then everybody goes in different directions. And, after I was done with Sinful, it was just time for something new, and which brought me out here. Yeah.
And after you left the shop that you were learning in,
I never really was in his shop. Like I'd go up and sit and he'd chat, and I'd get to watch him work, right? Okay. So, and then taught me the needles and stuff, and like I was never going there regularly to do an apprenticeship, if you will, or sweep the floors or what have you. It was he was patient with me in the sense of yeah, a lot of questions, a lot of questions, and he was there to provide, answers, and then for me to run with it the way I chose, so, and then same with Mike, just ask a lot of questions, pay attention, and just listen.
Sure. Yeah.
So, yeah, Mike Austin and Gary Barber are two pretty big influences in my life. So, and Gary right now is not doing so good. He's up in Saskatchewan, but he hasn't been feeling well for quite some years, and so I'm hoping to make a trip out to Camp Sack, Saskatchewan, which is where he is. He hasn't tattooed in quite some years, but he's a little under the weather. So hopefully I get a chance to get out there and see him, and spend a little bit of time with him. So
I was going to ask you about that, if he was still around. And
he is. He hasn't tattooed for numerous years, but he's been battling a lot of health issues and stuff for quite some time. So we chat, we still talk, once every couple of weeks, and I'm always sending him videos of my tattoos and photos of my tattoos, and wildlife and animals running around the property. So it's nice to still be in contact with him. So I let him know exactly what I think of him and how much I appreciate his time and the things that he's done for me over the years. So
it's quite a gift that you and I have been given by
we
people.
are incredibly blessed, man, to be able to do what we do for as long as we have. And you see a lot of artists come and go. I've met artists that have tried to make the transition to tattooing, and it just never happened, So it's to be able to do this and to be able to still draw and do my sculptures and tattoo, it's a dream job. It's it comes with its headaches, but at the end of the day, there's not a chance I'd rather have done anything else.
Absolutely.
We're pretty fortunate to be able to do this and to still have these regular clients that want to keep coming, and when they're done, then their kids and their cousins and their nieces, and that's how it all works. It's an amazing thing. So I'm pretty fortunate.
And then when you first got into tattooing, what were sort of your hopes and dreams? What were you working toward at the beginning, and did you meet those goals? And
well, I'd say in the beginning, I didn't know whether it would take me to where I am today, and to where what Sinful was and stuff like that. It was, but I knew there was only one thing, one outcome that I could see, and that's where I had to, put my head down and grind and grind every day to get it to where it needed to be. And after my pops passed, and he's the one that kind of gave me because his friend was dating a gal that was up in, the Whitby area, and they had heard about, they were looking for a tattoo artist. And I was in Grimsby at the time where we grew up, and, getting into a lot of shit in my early years, and, a lot of, handful of funerals by the time I was 18. And, it was time to, smarten up. And then when my pops had passed, quite a number of years ago now, I didn't want to let him down. Or my mom, my sisters, they've all been so supportive with all my crazy ideas and everything that I've kind of come up with over the years. But with good family and some good friends on the inner circle, it always helps to, and then the clients are always coming with cool ideas. The cooler the idea, the better, the more fun I want to have. And I only do a handful a week, and I want to have fun with every piece that I'm doing. So, and push myself, and try something different. It's fun. You got to keep doing that as far as this.
And as I said, when I first arrived, you're still progressing, and your work is still keeping up with today's standards, and
which is, I know it's hard to do, and
it's hard to do.
I put a lot of pressure on myself to try to, and it's, what is it, downfall or not fall. And then even after I'm done my tattoos, I'll still, in my mind, I pick it apart, and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I could try this, or, so I'm always, not so much second guessing, but I'm always saying, okay, there's something else that I can do with this piece or the next piece that can, bring it up a notch or two.
That's the infliction of being an artist, is that we're always going to hope that our pieces are going to be better than they are.
Yeah.
And we're going to keep looking toward improvement. People ask me, Ned, what's your favorite tattoo you've tattooed over the years? And I'd always say the next one.
Yeah, you get that question all the time when people are sitting in the chair. What's your favorite? And I've got some that I've had a ton of fun doing. But I've done some little ones back in the day that were a ton of fun. And it's just the camaraderie that was built with the client. You know, I just enjoyed having them in the chair just as much as tattooing them and being able to talk with these guys for a handful of hours while they're sitting there. You know, it's pretty rare that you get the one person that sits there and, you know, you can try to pull a couple questions out of them, but some people just don't want to, you know, or whether it's the position they're in, I'm not sure. But most of the people like to, you know, have a chat and, you know, you shoot the shit and you find out a lot about them and a lot about yourself. And some of these people I've been tattooing for 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
You know, they've been coming regularly, whether it's once a year or once every few months. And so, yeah, I look forward to those days and to be able to provide them with an atmosphere that is few and far between when it comes to getting tattooed anyhow. So,
that's right.
Yeah.
And so as a number of years ago, you got into sculpting, and it's really cool that you did, because someone like you with your massive work ethic and your drive, you've started doing these amazing creations. And so tell me a little bit about how you got into that and, you know, where you've gone with your sculpting.
Well, the assemblage art is what it's kind of referred to at. I've been doing that for a long time, for probably close to 30 years, I guess, doing the assemblage art. And you know, people like Paul Booth and H.R. Geiger, and they were some of the big inspirations back in the day. And then my love for antiques and going thrift shopping and collecting bits and pieces, and, you know, hopping in the Volkswagen van and just going for a drive and, you know, just finding that one unique piece that's going to play a role in a sculpture, you know, tomorrow or 5 years down the road. So yeah, it's evolved. It's evolved quite a bit. And a big part of these came from a collection, a clock collection that I acquired. And that was just more cabinets and some mechanisms, some gears. And then, yeah, it just kept evolving. And then there was artists like Chris Kuski, who's like up here when it comes to assemblage art and the stuff that he does. And, you know, and he inspired a good handful of these pieces. And then I kind of went off, and I didn't allow myself to look at his artwork anymore, just because I wanted to go a different direction from stuff that's, say, got a lot of characters to stuff that's more structured, and just more elements and more architecture to the piece, as opposed to, you know, and then a lot of the time is brought in, because this series is called the Gothic Time series, and I think I'm on number 27, I guess, of the pieces I've done. And, you know, these both here, sitting here, this took me a year, and that took me a year. You know, so that's 2 years worth of work, and that's usually tattooing for the day, and then, you know, have a bite to eat when you're done, and hop in the workshop and, you know, sculpt till midnight and get up and do it all over again. So it's, yeah, bit of a workaholic. So yeah, but it's awesome, man. I get to do all this and still have fun, and, you know, hang out in the woods and, you know, meet some really cool people. So I'm pretty fortunate. It's allowed me to see the world, travel. You know, I'd never been on a plane before until '97, and once I had a couple friends pass away then in the mid-90s, and it was time to go see some things, and before my life got cut short for whatever reason or not. And yeah, 97, just bought a 30-day train pass over to Europe and flew into Amsterdam, and had another flight coming home from Amsterdam, and I had Switzerland and France and all these, you know, went to go visit Jim Morrison in Paris, and went to go visit his grave, and just to see the architecture, it changed everything, changed the trajectory of everything. It allowed me to go to Europe, and I was going to Europe close to maybe once a year, if not twice a year, there for a good amount of time, and just checking out all the different cultures and the architecture, and to finally go into the Vatican and look up at the Sistine Chapel that I've seen only in art books for so long, and you know, strain your neck and just stare at it in awe. Like, it's just it's a different world over there, and I use that inspiration for a lot of my tattoo designs, and for what you're looking at here. So that Europe's played a big role in my life, man.
I think travel is good for an artist. It sort of opens your mind up, and
it's a must.
And when you think about your time as a sculptor and doing assembly art, what would be your proudest moment in that?
It would probably be there's a few, because my godson, Sammy, he was born on Star Wars Day, so he's May the 4th baby. Okay. And so every year I try to do something Star Wars related for him. And when he was just a little guy, he'd be coming over to the workshop, and I bought him his own little Dremels and his own safety glasses, and he'd be helping me put pieces together, and he's loaned me. I got a couple pieces of his on loan. This piece here is I did for his communion over there on the little small piece on the right.
Yeah.
So he's loaned that back, and there's another piece over there on that cabinet that he's given me. So those, I'll always remember those pieces that I've done. He's just turned 17 this Star Wars Day, and so I haven't got a piece for him I haven't seen him yet this year. But every year if I put something like that together, those are pretty powerful moments. Those are ones I'm going to cherish forever. And then obviously Leviathan, the Ark of the Apocalypse that I made that went viral. And it's everywhere that you look. And that really put Shallow Grave Studios on the map. And Shallow Grave Studios was already existing prior to me closing Sinful. And when I closed Sinful, I just morphed my tattooing with the Shallow Grave that was already established, and just kind of made a Shallow Grave tattoo and then a Shallow Grave sculptures page. So yeah,
that's incredible. And then as a tattoo artist, what would be your finest moment in tattooing?
In tattooing, I thought that'd be pretty hard to pinpoint. Finest moment is just waking up and still being inspired every day. Yeah. Like that's sometimes hard. Like you battle it. You battle. And as a writer would call it writer's block or have you, but it's, you're not a machine, you have to creative, your paycheck depends on whether your clients are going to like that design. Blessed to be able to get up every day and be inspired to work on my clients. Like that's a pretty amazing thing. So something I definitely don't take for granted, and I'm very appreciative of these guys just still keep coming and trusting me with their ideas and let me take a run at what they're, I've had people bring stuff on toilet paper. I've had people bring stuff on, rough sketches they did on the job site or what have you. And that's a good thing. Like during the consultations, you kind of got a feel out process for the clients. And
that's right.
Because you're always getting new clients, you can't, eventually they start running out of ink or running out of spaces to collect ink. So you have to take on new clients, and that's just the way it is. And
well, you seem to take up a lot of real estate on people's bodies, so
yeah, I do a lot of the bigger stuff, right? And
yeah, Jay, I appreciate your work ethic. I love your work. I've always been a huge fan of what you're doing. Any closing remarks that you want to share with us?
No, man. Hey, I've always been a fan of yours, and I've always appreciated everything that you've been doing, especially when you started doing this book so many years ago, and then having the consideration to come on down to Sinful, and and then to ask me the questions then, and to still be doing it this far along is amazing. Just for the both of us to still be in this game for as long as we have, and all the other artists that inspired us, early in the day, and. No, man, and you just got to find something that inspires you continuously. And if you don't, just get out there and try to find it, because it's easy to flatline in this industry and to not stay hungry and just get comfortable and just to do what you're doing. But if you're not making yourself uncomfortable and pushing your limits and doing stuff, and like for me, flying over to Poland and getting tattooed by Victor, that was a huge game changer. It's that to sit there with him for so many hours that I did, and that level of that he's at was something I brought home, and I still like with my big tattoos that he did for me, I still get to see them, and they inspire little hooks and little twists and stuff like that. So whether it's just, and I don't like flying, so just the whole commitment of pushing myself to go over there just to be around those people. I missed the convention. It was nice hanging around the conventions with a lot of the artists, but I'm on this is a different path up here, and I just look forward to just bringing a really well-rounded, cool tattoo experience, one that no one's really ever experienced. So that's a one-of-a-kind thing is what I'm aiming for up here. So,
Well, you look fantastic. You're doing fantastic things.
Thanks,
your enthusiasm for what you're up to is infectious. So
it's cool. You kind of have to. You know what I mean? Like if you're not always just kind of digging and pushing and digging, it's really easy to just kind of get left behind. And to stay relevant in this industry and to continue to generate that interest from clients and stuff like that.
That's right.
Is big. It's huge, and you gotta bring about change, you know, in yourself as an artist and stuff like that. For you know, and people notice that, and people just keep pushing, man. Just keep pushing, and just do the best job you could, and make tomorrow's tattoo better than yesterday's. That's you know, we were both talking about that, and that's what it's all about. So.
That's right. Well, I was talking to Keith Winterbottom. We did a spotlight about the Dead Things show, and he was talking about how artists, when they started sculpting their skulls, how it would get them off their iPads and get them into a different medium, and how grateful they were to actually maybe paint on something. Or
it is fun. Like that's one thing I miss too from Sinful is a lot of the fundraisers and the art shows and like the art fusions we would do. We do a lot of stuff for Humane Society and then for the Animal Guardian Society. So I'm a huge dog person. Love my dogs. Never.
Well, thanks again for coming on to do the spotlight today. Such a pleasure. Thank you, everybody, for watching today. I hope you enjoyed throughout this video.
Much appreciated. Greatly. And best of luck with the rest of the interviews and all these artists that you've still yet to talk with. And I appreciate everything that you're doing for all of us Canadian tattooers, man. And keep up the great work.
I feel like it's important that we preserve this. In 50 years, even these little videos I'm doing here will be history. I know, something worth keeping.